Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Quilt Stars. I am so excited to be coming from Paducah, Kentucky, Quilt City, USA, to talk to my friend, the most talented musical quilt maker extraordinaire, Mr. Ricky Timms. Ricky, how are you today?
I'm doing really good, Liz, and it's good to see you. I've certainly missed the events that have been canceled this year because I would have seen you, and it's always a joy. So it's good to see you here today.
Oh, it's so good to see you, and it would have been so nice to have you here in Paducah like we're used to. But I just look forward to when we can come together again soon, I hope, safely, and we can, share in the joy of quilt making again. I'm so ready for it.
Me too. I second that.
Well, in the meantime, we're going to share the joy of quilt making with you virtually, straight to your home. And I'm so excited to see this wonderful space. And Ricky, tell us about, you're up in the mountains, right?
I am. And before I tell you about where the mountains are, let me just quickly tell everybody, because I'm in the mountains, I have satellite Wi-Fi. So this may be very choppy, and I've promised to send some better pictures to drop over if it gets too bad. I just hope that you can all hear me fine. I live in Southern Colorado. I'm going to just move over to the window and tell you about that because my studio overlooks some amazing views outside. And this is my property. A lot of people will know that it burned, but my house is one of three houses on the ranch. There were five, two of them burned in the fire, but I'm the only resident out here. So I literally live like 9 miles from the nearest human. And if I go over to this direction, just letting you see, it's pretty amazing to be in a studio and to be able to look out at God's creation and just be inspired with all the beauty that's around. I'm not a hermit. I go about 40 minutes into the town of Levita where my offices are and where we have our online store. I don't have a brick and mortar store, but it's where we do our stuff in town. So it's just nice and peaceful.
Oh, good heavens, those views are, I mean, even through Zoom, take my breath away. I can't even imagine what it looks like in person. And just to get to sit out there and have some coffee and maybe read a book and be inspired. It's a beautiful, thank you for showing us.
You're welcome. And that's a beautiful fantasy. I wish I could relax and have some coffee and read a book too, but
A
that's not
beautiful
happening
fantasy.
in my world.
Well,
Yeah.
show us around your studio space if you don't mind. We'd love to see where you create. And you told me it's more of a creator space. It has a lot of different components. So I'd love to share that with everyone who's
It
watching.
definitely is a more of a creative space. I'm going to start here by just kind of showing you my sewing table. All right. So I'm functioning right now. So I've got some things on the table that I'm working on, but I have a large ironing mat. I don't use an ironing board. I use an ironing mat. This cover needs to be replaced. It's been very well loved and very well used, but it's simply a piece of board with some batting, cotton batting and cotton fabric, and stapled to the back side. And then the table, I designed the table, but it's nothing fancy. It's just that I designed it with some IKEA units down below. So you'll see that those units had a set size and they fit between the legs. So on that side and on this side, my dogs are coming in to say hello this morning, by the way. The
Oh my
puppies are
goodness.
excited.
We have to say hello to the dogs too when you get a chance.
All right. So those units, you can have drawers or doors. Let me just show you my favorite drawer in the whole place. This one right here. Can you read what it says?
Sticky stuff?
Sticky stuff. So inside this drawer is glue, tape, Velcro, glue stick. Anything that sticks is sticky stuff. So it goes in the sticky stuff drawer.
I love it. It is aptly named and well labeled, very organized.
So I'm going to go over to this side and forgive the movement of the camera. I'll try to get it situated. I want you to see this. There we go. So normally my sewing machine is in this space right here. And I will tell you that, and in a second, you'll see why it's not in this space right here. But normally I'm sitting here. Now this is high. This is ironing height. This is cutting height. But I just sat on a stool. I also have a drafting chair sometimes that I use. So that means when the foot pedal is on the floor, my foot can't reach it. It's too far. It's too uncomfortable. So on the floor, I have this, which I put the foot pedal on this, very comfortable. That's when I want everything to be up at this level. But I actually have this whole table built with hydraulics. And you'll see that this whole section lowers, and I can have my sewing machine at a lower height. This is actually a 2,000-pound hydraulic, so I could literally sit on this and raise myself up and down. But if I want to be sitting at my regular height, I have my workspace at this lower space, and then I have the table up above for cutting and sewing. The other advantage of this large table is that I can clear it completely off. I can raise this section all the way up, and I can block a quilt on the table without having to block it on the floor. And this would not do I think the table is 78 by 90. So I can get a pretty big quilt just on the table without having to block on the floor or on the wall.
That is so cool. I don't know if you saw but my jaw dropped when you showed us the way the hydraulics work. That's so impressive, and that's a really good to have, because I know that a lot of people, myself included, get a lot of back pain trying to bend down and cut, or bend down and block things out. And so to be able to change that height to take care of your body is really good.
Well, and you know, I cut it this height and I iron it this height, and it depends on the project. So like when I'm piecing, I prefer it to be down lower. I prefer to be in a regular chair. But when I'm machine quilting, I want the full space for my quilt, because I'm a domestic machine quilter. I want the space for my quilt to have, and so I have all that space for that. It's really multifunctional. It's just got a Formica top. It's nothing fancy, but I really, really like it. I like it a lot.
Yes, absolutely. And, I would encourage those of you at home, you saw that Ricky had the little stool on the floor. Whatever you need to make yourself comfortable while you're working, go ahead and do it, because it's supposed to be your space. Whatever works for you is good, and we want you to be happy while you're sewing. Otherwise, you're not going to want to do it very often.
Well, I think that is an amazing advice, Liz, because my studio is not a museum. It's I don't want to say it's cluttered. It can get very, very cluttered. But right now, I'll just point over this direction and go into that area there. I mean, these are more IKEA units. I use the baskets. I have like thread. This is a thread basket. So I keep thread in these baskets, and I will label them. That one is called Razzle Dazzle. Back in there. I've got another one that's labeled Big Fabric, and I've got big pieces of fabric in that one. I do have a closet that's separate from the studio, where I keep, a lot of just notions and, I would say the things that I don't use often go to the closet. So if I've got some specialty tool that's a big circular something that I might use once every 2 years, it doesn't live out in this space. It goes and stays put away. And normally I have quilts hanging on the wall, but I had to take them into town for some photography recently, so I had to take them off, and they've not yet gotten back up on their space yet. But you can see, I mean, it's not pretty, but if I need my rulers, the rulers are all here. So I just have a little caddy to stick them in. I have pins, threads. I use these a lot, these candy jars for threads. So I have several of those in my closet, and I have a jar of red and a jar of orange and a jar of purple and a jar of green, and it does look like candy.
I'm sure it does, all the different colors and everything on there. That's a great way to store it. And like you said, it doesn't have to be beautiful, although I think that, all the wood and the views on your studio are beautiful, but it has to be functional and it has to be functional for you. And so I appreciate you showing us that. So tell us, where is your sewing machine right now?
Well, I'm headed that direction, but on the way, I wanted to stop to say I do have personal items in my studio that make me, feel connected. This is a treasured clock, and this is a family portrait from 1930. So I do put personal things up in the studio, and I do collect sometimes miniature quilts. While a couple of these quilts are mine, most of these quilts are quilts that I've acquired over time. So creating a little bit of eye candy in the space as well. So to answer the question of where is my sewing machine right now, let me see what the best thing I can do here. I'm gonna just go do a distant shot. So the quilt that you see across the way is on my design wall, and that is the Lizzie Albright quilt. And I'm in the process right now of doing 50 tutorial videos for an online class that I'm doing to make the Lizzie Albright quilt. So this is a dining table. I hope you can still hear me. This is a dining table that is on risers. So I'm at this height. I've got lights. I've got several cameras that I use around me, cameras that are on the sewing machine. So my sewing machine is over here right now because I'm doing these tutorials. But once again, I've tried to create a space that works for me. And I will tell you, I just don't know how anybody functions in a studio without a design wall. So I love my design wall. This is the biggest design wall I've ever had. And you can see it goes up pretty high. Now, it's not finished at the top, but what that design wall is acoustical ceiling tiles. So I have literally, sorry for the movement, I have literally put acoustical ceiling tiles with liquid nail onto my wall. I've nailed them in a little bit, but mostly it's the liquid nail. I will finish the top, and then I can now pin into this wall anywhere I want to, right? But I will also cover this wall with a white flannel so that I can just put my fabric up and not always have to be pinning. I've had a flannel wall with acoustical tile now for more years than I can count. For me, it's the best design wall possible. So that's my design wall.
I love hearing about what everyone uses in their studio, especially for design walls. Everybody uses something a little bit different, and I've never heard about the acoustical ceiling tiles before, but that makes really good sense. And to put the flannel on there to hold it up, I'm glad that works for you. And I want to tell everyone, whatever, again, works in your space. Ricky, you're so creative with what you use and what you've made work for you. So that's a great example to all of us. And I also want to touch back on the personal items that you have up there. That's something that a lot of the people I've spoken with, I think everyone actually, has brought up, that even if you spend all your time in that studio focused on work, you still need to have something that inspires you and connects you back to what your history or what you love. And I'm glad to see that you have that up there.
Right. I tell you, I wanted to share this with you. I've become acquainted with several quilters in Ukraine, in the country, Ukraine. And Natalia made this raven, and I have it in my collection. Now, I'm going to get as close as I can. This is made out of finished edge, almost like spaghetti fabric. It is unbelievably created. It is unbelievable. I'll even send a better picture so y'all can drop that in. It's just stunning.
Oh, thank you for showing us. That is beautiful. And making friends with quilters all around the world is really great. We're hoping to be able to inspire people all over the world through these videos and let you all connect. And that's a good segue that if you're watching this, like it and share it with people, and then go into the comments and talk with one another and see what kinds of friends you can make with other quilt makers around the world, because that's what AQS is for. We want to inspire you and unite you. And that's a great example from Ricky. Can I say something real quick about Lizzie Albright? That quilt, I'm so excited about that book. And we can talk about the book a little bit more in a minute when you're closer to it. But you have written a quilt fiction book with real patterns and a real quilt that inspires it. And can you tell us a little bit about it?
So Lizzie Albright in the Attic Window is a novel, a fantasy novel that I've written with my good friend Kat Bowser. And Lizzie discovers an antique quilt in her granny's attic. And it's a sampler quilt that was made during the Great Depression. And when Lizzie learns the names of blocks like Bear Paw, Honeybee, Moon Over the Mountain, Snail's Trail, those kind of things inspire her creative mind. And when she sleeps under the quilt that night, she goes on an adventure. And we believe it to be a very real adventure, but she's in another world. This is very much The Wizard of Oz meets Alice in Wonderland meets Harry Potter. There's magic, there's curses, there's sorceries, it starts off very light and fluffy because it's 1964 and Lizzie is 10 years old, but it ends up in a kingdom far away, and it's just a fun read. But because the book is inspired by the quilt, the book is not about a quilt. The story is inspired by a quilt. I ended up creating the pattern book for Lizzie Albright. And this is the pattern that has all 42 blocks and the border and those flying geese going around the border with the 9 patches kind of tucked in is a really fun thing. So it's not stopping there because I designed all of the fabric for Benartex. So quilt shops have this fabric. I'm selling kits on my website for people that would be interested in a kit. But it's a whole thing, and it's not stopping there because the sequel is already somewhat underway. And so obviously, let me go back. I want to tell you, sorry. Lizzie Albright in the Attic Window, because the blocks are set in the attic window setting. Yes, she finds it in the attic, but she also goes on her adventure. Her adventure starts when she goes through the attic window. And the attic window setting for the blocks is what inspired that. The sequel is called Lizzie Albright and the Storm at Sea.
How creative. I know something that's special to me about that book is I remember viscerally being a young girl, maybe visiting my grandmother or someone who had an old quilt and laying under that in that house that wasn't mine and thinking, okay, there's magic here. What could happen here? And being able to read a story like that through the eyes of that girl is really exciting. And I started reading it and I can't wait to finish it. But one thing I like, which you kind of touched on about the different blocks and patterns, is she is riding a flying goose.
She is riding a flying goose because of the flying geese border. Those are the kind of influences. And there's some really funny connections. The Snail's Trail, for example, is the name of a tavern in the story.
Oh, well, I love that. And quilt makers will be excited to see, the way all the different blocks come up and all the different references in there, and to read just a fun and fanciful story. And let me tell you what, we all need a little bit of escapism right now. So I'm excited about it. Let me touch on 2 things really quickly. One, you said that people can find out more on your website. Can you give us that website address?
Absolutely. So I would encourage people to go to lizzyyalbright.com, and Lizzie's with a Y, Lizzy, Albright.com, ALBRIGHT. Lizzyyalbright.com has all the information. I will also let your viewers know that AQS has the novel, so they could purchase it through AQS. If you read ebooks, you can find it on Kindle, you can find it on iBooks. It's out there. If you go to lizziealbright.com, we sell the iBook, and currently we have free shipping going on for the books. So anyway, it's out there and it's available. And our goal, Liz, I didn't mention this, but our goal is to get a cross-generational thing going. The story is written for middle grade. That means 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old. It kind of fits that. But middle grade was also the designation for Harry Potter. That was a middle grade book, but it reached everybody. So we say this is for middle grade and young adults of all ages, because we want quilters to be reading the book with their grandkids or their great nieces and nephews, and then maybe together make this quilt and create a new generation of quilters. The entire thing, we're coming out with a children's sewing curriculum. The whole master plan for Lizzie is really an amazing long-term thing for me. It may be my last chapter in quilting, and that could be the next 10 to 12 years. I mean, I'm no spring chicken anymore, but I'm still kicking.
Wow. And well, I think that's so important, is to get people reading that with the younger people in their lives and to inspire a new generation of quilt makers, because this is our history, and this is a history that will continue as we teach other people to actually make quilts. And you know, I'm still in the learning phase myself, but I've made a couple of things, and I really like that can be a purpose for that book. And I want to tell folks out there, you already mentioned that this book is available on shopaqs.com. And if you're an AQS member, you'll get 20% off on the sale of that. And just really quickly here, I'll let everyone know that we're starting a brand new membership campaign. And this is a great deal. It's $20 for a year-long membership to AQS. And then you get a $20 Shop AQS gift certificate and a free gift. So it's going to pay for itself. And as a member, you get access to exclusive member-only content. There's a whole wealth of different patterns and articles online through our blog that you would have access to. Plus, you would save 20% on anything that you buy on Shop AQS as you make new things during this time. So definitely get your hands on that book and read it. Read it to your grandchildren, to your nieces, to your nephews, to just any kid that you might have in your house, and make something beautiful with it.
You see what I have now?
Those look like magic wands. What do you have?
They're magic wands, and they have jewels in them. And these are actually twigs from the burn right outside my house that we are making. And we have 4 different colors of gems because we have 4 characters that have kind of different personalities in the story that are very wizardry. So there's wizards and sorcerers and that sort of thing in the Lizzie Albright book.
How cool. I'm excited about that. And you'll have to send us a picture of those close up too, because how special that they came from, you know, that time, and now they're being used for something magical and new and creative.
It makes me feel good.
So show us where you're sitting now. I can tell this is the creative musical space.
It is. So this is my creative musical space, and up top I do have a TV so that if I want to watch documentaries or movies while I'm sewing. But primarily this space is for music, and I have applications to do my recording. So if I right now, let me just quickly do this and go here. I'm just going to hit record, and I'm going to play a little ditty just to show you how this works. I don't even know what I'm playing. So that was all played, and now those actions have been recorded, and I can go back and I can replay what I just played. Exactly. But the crazy thing is, if I made a mistake, I can go in here and change. I can change the note. It's not so much cheating as much as it is whenever we're sequencing, we may want to do other things with the music. So we can do that, but but it's just fun. It's so fun to be able to record here. And of course, I don't have to just use that sound. I've got.
Oh my gosh, it's a pipe organ.
Right, I got all that, and then let's see, this one's a drum program, so it's not as easy to hear right now.
Oh yeah, I can tell. There's a percussion there.
Yeah, and literally I have, I don't want to say tens of thousands, but maybe 10,000 different sounds to choose from. And some of them are actual recorded instruments like violins or orchestra or voice choirs or whatever. So you can layer these things together. So people that know my music know that it's very creative. Come here, dogs. Come here, puppies. Come here, Barley. All right, these are my babies. Come here. They all want to see Cordelia.
Oh my goodness.
Come here.
Look at those babies getting kisses.
Oh my gosh, you guys. These are my babies.
Oh.
They make me so happy.
We love our babies. I have two at home. All girls?
No, this is, Barley is the brindle. Barley is a boy. And his sister, his litter mate is Rosie. She's a girl. And they're bully mixes. And they're so sweet. And Cordelia is surprisingly a purebred Great Dane.
Oh my
and
God.
So she's not even full grown yet.
Wow, I was gonna say she's still small. What a beautiful girl. I have two girl dogs at home. One is a 10-year-old lab and one is a 2-year-old dachshund. And you know, they are my children for now. Well, I want to say, are you working on anything new musically right now?
Well, I'm overwhelmed with COVID right now. And I don't want to go to the dark side, but this is a distressing time for businesses like myself. It is extremely distressing. I have had nothing but hand-dyed fabric being the backbone of my business for 22 years. And as a result of COVID, not only did we lose the company that was 160 years old that provided the gray goods that we dyed, but I've lost my hand dyer, so I don't have a way to dye fabric anymore. And I don't know if that's an end of an era for me or not, but it's really challenging to try to keep this business going. So to answer the question is, I am being as creative as I can right now because of Lizzie. I really believe that what Lizzie can bring to this quilt community and inspire young people. And the book is about courage and leaps of faith. It's also about betrayal and deception and how that comes with consequences. It talks about justice or injustice. And all of that is kind of embedded into a story that's very fantastical. But I'm really trying to do something with Lizzie that's never been done before. And so all of my eggs are having to go into the Lizzie basket right now. We have recorded the audio book, so that is getting edited. We are hoping to do a musical CD of music that is Lizzie Albright inspired. But just pushing forward, this is something, Liz, people don't know. I'm such a small company. I now have 2 employees, 2. That's all. I had 3. I have 2. But they're very loyal employees. And I just brought in a couple of salespeople to kind of help get Lizzie Albright into the shops, but they're working very limited and part-time. So I'm not a big company. I'm a little guy. As much as I've been able to have a big personality, I am a little guy here in the quilting industry. And with all of my seminars this year shut down and all of my normal regular sales that I would have got from that, it's been a real challenge. But I am not dead in the water yet. I have started from 0 before, and if I have to start from 0 again, I'll do it. And I'm being very positive about that. There are days of discouragement, yes. But the truth is, this ain't over.
You're right.
Okay?
You're right.
The fat lady is not.
You're right. And I have to say, everybody out there, it is hard. And we are trying to stay positive, and we are making new things, and things are getting better. But if you're out there and you're not feeling inspired right now, and you're not feeling like you can be that creative, you're not alone. We're all facing that right now, and it's a distressing, hard time. And your best that you're doing, you just do your best, because that's all we can do. And thanks for sharing us with that with us. I know that it's hard on everybody, and I hope that, at least for me, these videos, getting to talk to you and getting to talk to my other quilting friends helps a whole lot. And I hope it helps those of you out there who are watching to feel more connected and to feel a little bit encouraged to maybe try something new or just enjoy what you love.
Sure. It's really important to support your quilt teachers, your quilt shops, AQS. I mean, all of the different organizations. Just do a little bit to help the people that you love and connect with. You know, we have still stuff for sale on my website. My fabric pantry is not dry, but when this leaves, when these shelves empty, there's no more hand-dyed fabric until in the foreseeable future. So we're offering actually a new sale. By the time this airs, we'll be having a sale at rickytims.com. So if people want to check that out, they can do that.
Very good, very good. Well, Ricky, I want to thank you so much for talking with me. You know, the very first time, you might not remember this, but the very first time we spent a weekend together because we were judging for Paducah, you told me that that I was your BFF, and I'm going to hold you to that we are best friends forever. And just, you know, if anybody asks, I'll tell them that you are.
And you know what? You can tell them that because I dearly love you. I love your personality. I love what you do for AQS. And I really do. When I said I miss you, I miss you. So thank you so much for being a part of my life.
Oh, thank you, Ricky. I feel the very same about you, and you have made my day, and I look forward to when we can see each other again in person soon.
Yeah. And I want to say to all the quilters that took time to watch this to the end, I love you too. I encourage you. I think you can do things that you never thought were possible. Stay positive, stay focused, and just love the life that you've got with the best you can. We all have our ups, we all have our downs, but we can get through it if we get through it together. So let's stick together.
That's right. We're going to keep quilting on together and sticking together. And if you're watching this, make sure to like this video on Facebook and share with your friends using the buttons below so we can all stay connected. And Ricky, until next time, it's been great talking with you.
All right. See you, everyone.
Bye.